In this video, we're talking nano tanks, and we will go through the 10 most common mistakes made by new hobbyists. Hello folks, Waylon from Marine Depot here, and thanks for joining us. Since the creation of the nanocube, small reef aquariums have become quite popular because they offer a convenient way to keep a reef aquarium when space, budget, and time are limited. For those of you just starting out, a nano tank is simply a small aquarium, typically anything below 40 gallons. With over 20 years under our belt, we at Marine Depot have been helping hobbyists succeed at what we do best. Using the knowledge gained from this experience, we compiled a list of the top 10 mistakes you should avoid when keeping a nano reef. Setting up a new tank is exciting. Building, stocking, and seeing your work come to life is quite rewarding. No matter how much we express the importance of patience, time and time again, we see folks rush through the planning and setup process, which can lead to a ton of problems. Most importantly, your tank needs time to establish. Once you have rock, sand, and water in the tank, you should let it run for a full 4 to 6 weeks before adding fish. This gives the bacterial foundation sufficient time to establish, ensuring your new aquatic pets the best chance to survive in your new tank. Another result of impatience is making adjustments quickly. Stability is key to the health of an aquarium, and changes to the environment need to be done slowly. Drastically increasing your lighting, changing water flow, adjusting additives, or adding too much new livestock at once are all examples of change that can stress out your tank. In nano tanks, the changes will be magnified even more drastically. The resulting stress can be misleading. For example, it may appear your new lighting schedule or flow pattern is too strong, when in fact the corals or fish are simply stressed out because of the drastic change in the environment and were not given the proper time to adjust to the more optimal conditions. The facts are, small aquariums cannot support large populations of fish, and it is critical you choose the appropriate type of fish that will thrive in such a confined space. The key here is research. Before you head out to a fish store, have a solid idea of which species you're going to be looking for. We realize that many of you might be restricted by what your local fish store has in stock, but don't let this limit you. Many fish stores will take special requests, or you may consider purchasing from one of the various reputable online retailers. Waiting for the right fish is well worth it. Never purchase a fish or coral you've never heard of. This will only lead to problems. Have a solid understanding of what the animal needs in order to thrive in captivity. Don't purchase a juvenile fish that will quickly outgrow your tank. While something like a baby blue tang may appear to be the perfect size, in reality, they grow quite large and require a ton of space to swim around and feel comfortable. A tang in a small nano aquarium will only cause stress, which leads to aggression and increased risk of infection and disease. Personally, I like to make a list of my top 5 fish I'm looking for, ensuring that they're all compatible together, and then head out to a fish store looking for them. You will not always be able to find what you're looking for, but patience and sticking to your plan will ultimately lead to success. You can find a ton of information right here on our website all about fish compatibility and the suitable tank sizes. Check out the links we provided in the description below to get started. Smart coral selection should also be taken seriously in terms of understanding what the particular coral needs. Is it aggressive and will it potentially kill other corals? Will it be prolific and outcompete everything else? Do you have stable enough water parameters to keep the corals happy and growing? Are conditions optimal in terms of lighting and flow? Knowing the answers to these questions will give you an advantage and ensure your corals will assimilate nicely into your small reef. At some point or another, all of us probably have added a little too much food into our tanks. Feeding your fish and corals is certainly fun, but don't get carried away. Too much food will foul up your aquarium's water, especially in a small tank where you don't have a substantial water volume to dilute the resulting waste. Always turn off your filtration system when feeding. You can take it a step further and rinse your frozen foods using RODI water and strain out the usable food particles. Take advantage of feeding stations to corral the fish food and keep it away from your filtration system. Algae clips and grazers are also excellent tools to reduce food waste. Your fish should quickly consume the food you give them in under 2 minutes. You can also feed in stages to help distribute the food to various tank inhabitants. Coral foods should be sparingly used in a nano tank, if any at all. Leftover fish food can easily feed your corals. Prepared coral foods typically are very small in particle size and designed to stay suspended in the water column for corals to filter out and consume. A significant portion of that food will go uncollected, further increasing waste levels. It is a good practice to always target feed corals using a bulb syringe. It is also a good practice to maintain your mechanical filtration on a regular basis to remove the filtered food particles. For those of you coming from the freshwater world, using dechlorinated tap water is something you want to avoid at all costs. We highly recommend getting your own RODI system or purchasing filtered water from your local aquarium shop. An RODI system filters your tap water to be clean and free of contaminants that could potentially be toxic to your fish and corals. It will also remove impurities that contribute to nuisance algae growth. Small tanks require a very strict water change schedule. Although the volume of water being exchanged is often less than 5 gallons, the frequency should be every 7 to 10 days. Having an RODI system at home will make this process a bit easier because you'll have fresh, clean DI water on demand for both mixing saltwater and also filling your top-off container. You will also have the advantage of being able to make your own saltwater at home if something goes wrong or your local fish store is not open or able to sell you water. A water change on a small tank is the best way to keep the tank stable. The exact frequency can vary, but with most nano tanks, we recommend you perform a 20% water change every 7 to 10 days, especially when keeping a nano reef with corals. Doing so will replenish the necessary elements the corals need and also dilute the waste levels. Creating a regimen and sticking to it is the best approach. With such a frequent water exchange, the tank will never get to a point at which the water quality diminishes so severely that the animals inside suffer. Filtration systems on these smaller all-in-one aquariums are very minimal and do not allow space for advanced equipment. With the frequent water exchange schedule, you can effectively eliminate the need for a bulky protein skimmer, media reactors, and various other filtration equipment found on larger reef tanks. Tiny protein skimmers are classically problematic. In order for the skimmer to be small enough to fit into a nano aquarium's filtration compartment, it will need to be really small in size, which means a tiny reaction chamber. This poses a fundamental problem for the skimmer, which requires a large reaction chamber to properly remove waste and to perform without the need for frequent adjustments to air and water. There are a handful of nano skimmers that work better than others, but for the most part, they will not pull out waste like what you might expect. Small skimmers will provide the benefit of gas exchange and removing some waste, but it is important to understand that some of the best nano tanks operate without a skimmer. Don't worry if you're having trouble finding something that will fit into your tank. Instead, focus on maintenance and adhere to a very frequent water exchange schedule to remove and dilute organic waste. Filter maintenance is crucial with a nano tank because things will go downhill fast. Even just a few days overdue can lead to nutrient level spikes in the aquarium. Mechanical filtration such as filter pads and socks need to be cleaned or replaced every 3 to 5 days in most cases. If your tank is very clean, you can probably go a few days longer, but just remember that when the trapped waste is left to break down inside your aquarium, bacteria will go to work creating nitrates. The same rule applies to chemical filtration such as carbon, absorbed resins, and the like. Be sure to replace this media as soon as it becomes exhausted so as to not allow for leaching or additional buildup of waste. Some media will last longer than others, so testing your water will be important for understanding when it's time to replace the media. Personally, I like to follow the rule of, when in doubt, just change it out. Keeping a healthy stock of replacement filter media on hand will ensure you're never left stuck without a new bag of carbon or clean filter pad. Using an ATO system will really save you a ton of headaches. Trying to keep up with the manual addition of freshwater loss by evaporation will be tedious and will also cause swings in your salinity levels, which will stress out your inhabitants. In small aquariums, evaporation occurs at the same rate that you would experience with a larger aquarium, but the resulting rise in salinity will be far more drastic. An ATO system will automatically top off the aquarium with fresh water and keep your tank's salinity stable. Thanks to modern technology, you have quite a few options in terms of small ATO systems with tiny sensors that fit nicely into nano tanks. The Tunzi Nano, the XB Aqua, and the Micro ATO are all excellent choices. This is something that applies to reefers of any size aquarium and is certainly much easier said than done. With a small aquarium, it is all the more important to keep a close eye on water parameters, especially when keeping corals. A regular testing regimen will give you an idea of what your corals are consuming, indicate whether your filtration and maintenance schedule are sufficient, and give you the peace of mind that your tank's inhabitants are being provided an optimal environment. Keeping a log for reference and having a full set of quality test kits is critical. The log helps to reference past tests, and having the test kits at home makes it much more difficult to neglect. When first starting out, check to see if your local fish store offers a water testing service, or consider using a mail-in water test kit. A successful reef hobbyist is a keeper of water chemistry, and using test kits to identify trends and understand how the water changes over time will give you a much better understanding of the most complicated aspect of our hobby, the water itself. It seems silly to say, but temperature, salinity, and pH quickly become a neglected aspect of keeping a reef tank. We often get so caught up in keeping up with maintenance and scrutinizing every available element for the corals that we forget the basic parameters that keep your tank thriving. As mentioned earlier, change happens fast inside of a nano tank, and this remains true for temperature, pH, and salinity, all of which are very easy to monitor and should not be forgotten. An accurate thermometer, reliable refractometer, quality pH test kit or monitor will really make your life easy. Aquarium controllers such as the Neptune Systems Apex and the GHL Profilux offer an excellent solution for real-time monitoring and control of these parameters. It may seem that an expensive controller is not worth the expense for a small tank, but the facts are they are just as useful, if not more useful, compared to a large system. After all, the animals inside your nano tank require the same attention and care as those found in larger reef tanks. No matter what size tank you keep, success takes work, and the more work you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. A small reef tank takes just as much commitment as a larger tank. The only difference is the cost of equipment. Keeping a reef tank is a journey. All the while you'll be learning. No matter how much research you do, you can never predict when a fish might jump, become ill, or when a critical piece of equipment fails. These things happen and can be quite disheartening after working so hard to create a reef tank of your dreams. What you can do is to be prepared. Keep extra heaters and pumps on hand, utilize battery backups or buy a generator, use a screen top, source livestock from a reputable distributor, and simply mentally prepare yourself for these situations as they will ultimately happen. The point here is don't let these events discourage your passion for reef tanks. Keep working and keep learning. All of us go through it and will experience some level of disappointment with our reef. We challenge you to ask yourself, what keeps your passion for reef tanks alive, and then nurture those desires. If you do, you'll surely accomplish your own personal level of success. That wraps up our list of the top 10 nano tank mistakes, and we look forward to assisting all of you on your reef keeping journey. If you happen to have any thoughts or additional tips, please leave that in the comments below and let us know. We appreciate all of you for watching. Until next time, take care and happy reef keeping.